Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and this time we have another viewer request, and it is for the 1986 film Rad. Here is your trivia question for today. What is the name of the race that Crew wants to try out for? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So in this story, we meet our main character, Crew Jones, who for the most part has a pretty average life. Family, friends, a job, but he's also really good at riding a bike. So much so that he plans on joining a giant bike racing tournament that's coming to town. A whole bunch of professional bike racers start showing up for the tournament, including Bart Taylor, Rod, Rex, and Christian. Apparently, there's a pretty quick attraction between Crew and Christian. As we get closer to the big race, it looks like Crew is getting better and better, along with the help that he's getting from Christian. Unfortunately for him, though, there is a pair of gentlemen named Duke and Elliot who have put a lot of money into Bart Taylor winning this competition. And they will do anything to make sure that happens. So, with seemingly everything against Crew, will he be able to pull off a true underdog story? This movie was directed by Hal Needham, who had a background in stunt work before getting into directing. The movie was filmed in Alberta, Canada. The original title of the film was Balls Out. This is why near the end of the movie, Sergeant Smith says to Crew, "Go balls out." The character of Crew Jones in the film is played by Bill Allen. Now, the reason why he's called Crew is it's short for Cruiser, which is his nickname. His real name is Christopher Jones, which only his mother calls him Christopher, and only once in the film. Apparently, the way that Bill Allen received the role of Crew is he was performing on an episode of Hill Street Blues when the director noticed him and felt that he would be perfect. The character of Crew Jones is loosely based off of Eddie Fiola, who ended up being the stuntman for Bill Allen in this film. In a strange twist, Allen ended up having to dye his hair to look more like Fiola. The only stunt in this film that was performed by Bill Allen is when Crew rides through the fence. Allen would eventually put out a book called My Rad Career. Lori Loughlin plays the character of Christian in this film. What's funny is, a couple of her stunts were also performed by Eddie Fiola wearing a wig. This was also only a few short years before Loughlin would get involved with the TV series Full House. Bart Connors plays the character of Bart Taylor, and he has always found it very funny that he gets more recognition from being in this film than being an Olympic gold medalist in gymnastics. Rod and Rex, the two twins in this film, are played by Chad and Carrie Hayes, who would actually go on to become writers. They would originally write a few episodes of shows like Baywatch and Baywatch Nights, but would eventually go on to write films like House of Wax and The Conjuring. The suits that Rod and Rex wear at the dance were actually borrowed from the television series V. Jamie Clark, who plays the character of Luke, became the ninth Canadian to climb Mount Everest. You know how at one point Crew signs the cast of someone as he's walking by? During practice for the film, stuntman Rick Molinaro broke his leg. It was then written into the film that he had a broken leg. Molinaro would also go on to become the owner of Standard Bikes. One of the stuntmen, Mike Miranda, was paid $500 for each time he fell. The film was delayed at one point as the starting ramp they had for the final scene was so high that none of the riders wanted to go down it. They had to cut it down to 25 feet tall. It took 2 weeks to film the final race at the end of the movie. Everything at the end of the movie was actually filmed in fall, so they requested that people remove their jackets to make it look like summer, and the leaves on the trees were actually painted green. So, in case you noticed the same thing that I did and were also curious, the reason why the trainees' names were redacted in the end credits is because the Writers Guild of America would not allow their names to appear. One other thing that I just felt needs to be pointed out that's great about this movie is that they have Ray Walston in it, who has done so many movies and television shows, but they have him flipping people off every once in a while, which is just so funny. So when it comes to the film Rad, I really was expecting this movie to be terrible because I hadn't watched it since I was a kid and I don't remember much about it. But rewatching it now, it's actually kind of fun and entertaining. And of course, there's that oh so very 80s soundtrack that it has, which also makes it great. So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. And if you enjoyed the movie Rad, other movies I recommend checking out are Airborne, Gleaming the Cube, Thrashin', and BMX Bandits. Now it's time for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. What is the name of the race that Crew wants to try out for? So everything in the film is leading up to the big race right at the end called Hell Track. It is really just highly amusing to me, the fact that that's the name of the race, because this whole movie takes place in this little kind of out of the way suburban town. And the fact that no one had an issue with this having the word hell in it, I just find that funny. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. And if there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.